Can I set max_retries for requests.request? The Python requests module is simple and elegant, but one thing bugs me. It is possible to get a request.exception.connection error with a message like. This implies that requests can attempt to access the data several times. But there is not a single mention of this possibility anywhere in the docs. Looking at the source code, I didn't find any place where I could alter the default, presumably 0, value. So is it possible to somehow set the maximum number of retries for requests?
It is the underlying erlib3 library that does the retrying. To set a different maximum retry count, use alternative transport adapters. The max_retries argument takes an integer or a retry object. The latter gives you fine-grained control over what kinds of failures are retried. An integer value is turned into a retry instance which only handles connection failures. Errors after a connection is made are by default not handled, as these could lead to side effects. Old answer, predating the release of Requests 1.2.1. The requests library doesn't really make this configurable, nor does it intend to. See this pull request. Currently, Requests 1.1, the retries count is set to 0. If you really want to set it to a higher value, you'll have to set this globally. This constant is not documented. Use it at your own peril, as future releases could change how this is handled. Update, and this did change. In version 1.2.1, the option to set the max_retries parameter on the HIP adapter class was added, so that now you have to use alternative transport adapters, see above. The monkey patch approach no longer works, unless you also patch the HIP adapter._init_. Defaults, very much not recommended.
Be careful, Martijn Peters' answer isn't suitable for version 1.2.1+. You can't set it globally without patching the library. You can do this instead.
This will not only change the max_retries but also enable a back-off strategy which makes requests to all http:// addresses sleep for a period of time before retrying, to a total of 5 times. As per documentation for retry, if the backoff_factor is 0.1, then sleep will sleep for 0.05s, 0.1s, 0.2s, 0.4s between retries. It will also force a retry if the status code returned is 500, 502, 503 or 504. Various other options to retry allow for more granular control. Total number of retries to allow. Connect, how many connection-related errors to retry on. Read, how many times to retry on read errors. Redirect, how many redirects to perform. Method_whitelist, set of uppercased HTTP method verbs that we should retry on. Status_forceList, a set of HTTP status codes that we should force a retry on. Backoff_factor, a backoff factor to apply between attempts. Raise_on_redirect, whether, if the number of redirects is exhausted, to raise a max retry error, or to return a response with a response code in the 3xx range. Raise_on_status, similar meaning to raise_on_redirect, whether we should raise an exception, or return a response, if status falls in status_forceList range and retries have been exhausted. NB, raise_on_status is relatively new, and has not made it into a release of erlib3 or requests yet. The raise_on_status keyword argument appears to have made it into the standard library at most in Python version 3.6. To make requests retry on specific HTTP status codes, use status_forceList. For example, status_forceList sadface 503 will retry on status code 503, service unavailable. By default, the retry only fires for these conditions. Could not get a connection from the pool. Timeout error. Exception raised from http.client in Python 3 else hiplib. This seems to be low-level HTTP exceptions, like URL or protocol not formed correctly. Socket error. Protocol error. Notice that these are all exceptions that prevent a regular HTTP response from being received. If any regular response is generated, no retry is done. Without using the status_force list, even a response with status 500 will not be retried. To make it behave in a manner which is more intuitive for working with a remote API or web server, I would use the above code snippet, which forces retries on statuses 500, 502, 503 and 504, all of which are not uncommon on the web and, possibly, recoverable given a big enough backoff period.
After struggling a bit with some of the answers here, I found a library called Backoff that worked better for my situation. A basic example. I'd still recommend giving the library's native functionality a shot, but if you run into any problems or need broader control, Backoff is an option.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.